Howdy folks, hope you're all having a good one, and welcome back to World of Warships with Rear Admiral Jingles. For today's audio-visual extravaganza, we have a Tier 7 arms race battle here on the mountain range map, starring Justin McGee, here in the actually really rather good Scharnhorst 43. Because this is arms race, there are only 6 ships per side. Both teams have 3 battleships, 2 cruisers, and 1 destroyer. No carriers or submarines. Hooray! Minor spoiler alert. Well, actually, fairly major spoiler alert. It's been a really long time since I have seen a battle go as horribly, horribly wrong as quickly as this one does. So just bear that in mind, and don't worry, you're not going to have to wait long. When this thing starts to go pear-shaped, it goes pear-shaped very, very quickly. Before that happens, let's have a quick talk about the ship that Justin's sailing, the Scharnhorst 43. Obviously, the Scharnhorst has been around in World of Warships for a very long time. It was one of the first premium battleships introduced. The Scharnhorst 43 is the same, but different. Arguably, some would say better. For a start, her 283mm armour-piercing shells, yep, that's not particularly large calibre by battleship standards, it's actually kind of small. But don't forget, the ship was built as a commerce raider. It wasn't supposed to fight other battleships. It was supposed to smash convoy escorts, so destroyers, at most cruisers, and then wreak havoc on the convoys they were protecting. If enemy battleships showed up, she was supposed to run away and disengage, and to that end she is very, very fast, certainly faster than anything in the British Home Fleet at the time, which would have been her only serious battleship opposition. But the difference between her, in this case the Scharnhorst 43's armour-piercing shells, and the regular Scharnhorst's armour-piercing shells is the fuse timers. The regular Scharnhorst has a much shorter fuse timer, which makes the regular Scharnhorst particularly dangerous to enemy cruisers. The Scharnhorst 43 has the regular battleship fuse timers, which means she's more easily able to citadel other battleships, but is more likely to overpenetrate an enemy cruiser. The Scharnhorst 43's guns also have a slightly shorter range, and she can't mount a spotting aircraft to increase the range. The torpedoes are almost the same as the regular Scharnhorst, except they have a faster 45-second reload. And the Scharnhorst 43's secondaries build upon the already impressive, some would say slightly overpowered by the standards of Tier 7 battleships, impressive secondaries of the regular Scharnhorst by having pretty much the same, except with faster reloads. Things have already started to go wrong. I did warn you it wasn't going to take long. So he's been spotted. Clearly the enemy destroyer, which is a Leningrad, is out here. And it looks like the enemy Scharnhorst 43 to the north is already shooting at him. He starts to turn in, and sure enough, those shots mostly go long. Gonna need to watch out for the... actually, no. Oh, remember what I said about the longer fuse times on the 283mm armour piercing? Yep, overpenetrates on the Helena. Well, that's a bit of a bummer. Gonna have to be really careful about that West Virginia, however. Oh, and it is shooting. Yeah. This is bad. He's already got one fire set from the Helena. There goes another fire from the Helena. And that's an awful lot of broadside he's showing there to the West Virginia. And now he's showing an awful lot of broadside to the enemy Scharnhorst, but he has to turn away. Otherwise, he's going to get spanked. I mean, he's going to get spanked anyway. Oh, yeah, and sure enough, there are the Leningrad's torpedoes. Unlike other Tier 7 Soviet destroyers, the Leningrad's torpedoes don't have a 4-kilometre range. They have 8. Justin is now down to 20,000 health. There are points during the course of this battle where he's going to be looking back on this moment and thinking, 20,000 health? Luxury! I did warn you that things were going to go horribly, horribly badly. And trust me, they're going to get worse, because he's still giving an uncomfortable amount of broadside to that West Virginia. In fact, I think it's the arrival of the Pensacola is the only real thing that keeps him in this fight for as long as it does. Because as long as there is the squishiest of Tier 6... Tier 6? Yes, Tier 6 cruisers, hardly anybody is going to be shooting at him, except for maybe the West Virginia. Because he is given an uncomfortable amount of broadside, and he looks like a very, very easy kill. I'd have to say, that while this situation is absolutely not his fault and he's trying to make the best of a very, very bad deal, he has made a couple of mistakes. There's one of them. He's continuing to give broadside to a West Virginia, and he very, very nearly paid for it. But he also didn't torpedo the Leningrad smokescreen. Although his torpedoes do only have a 6-kilometer range, it's possible that the Leningrad was at its maximum range of 8 kilometers when it got its torpedoes away. He's getting the torpedoes away now, though. Watch the Pensacola. Is he going to catch them all? Yeah, of course he is. I mean, there's no friendly fire, but those torpedoes could have actually done some good. Anyway, he's gotten his heel away again. Not recovering a huge amount of health, but it should put him back up above 20,000, and the Ashitaka has just turned up. I have no idea how that Pensacola has survived for as long as it has. I mean, that thing is basically made out of ammunition and citadels. There we go. That's the kind of hit that we usually see on a Pensacola. I'm pretty sure the Scharnhorst 43 on the enemy team over there is going to finish him. If not with its torpedoes, then its secondaries. Yep, the secondaries. Now, I'm sure that Justin was grateful that the Pensacola and the Ashitaka turned up when they did, because it did take some of the heat off him, and if not for their arrival, he would absolutely be decorating the ocean bottom right now. But those guys, you can see the battering that Justin took. You can look at your map and see that the entire enemy team is over here, with the exception of the Renown on the other side of the mountain range. What are you doing chasing in? Yep, sure enough, Scharnhorst torpedoes, and there goes the Ashitaka. So they're 2 kills down, 160 points behind, although arms race battles are rarely decided on points, unless somebody takes the central cap when it becomes available. And it's anybody's guess who's going to win here between the enemy Scharnhorst 43 and Justin, until a very timely armor-piercing salvo from the friendly Nelson decides that one. So Justin isn't going to die immediately, at least not anymore. He's actually in a decent spot here. He's probably going to slow down to take advantage of the terrain blocking here, get some more shots in on the Helena. There goes his heel again. He's only got 2 charges left. That's some very disappointing results with the shots on the Helena over there. This is probably going to put him back up to around about 25, maybe 30,000 health. I mean, that's not good. He started on 50,000. But considering that he was down to 5,000 health about a minute ago, it's not that bad. Okay, he's probably not going to be able to get all 9 of his guns firing. The rear turret is likely to be occluded, but he should be able to get the... yeah, he's switching the camera view there. But he is able to get at least the front 6 turrets shooting against the West Virginia. And it's a reasonable amount of damage. He did manage to set fire on the Helena, though. And it's a single fire, so the Helena's just going to let it burn out. And it has burned out. Fires only last, I think it's 30 seconds on cruisers, 60 seconds on battleships. Right, he's back up to 26,000, nearly 27,000 health. His heel's going to come back off cooldown in just over 30 seconds, and he can still recover a little more. Pretty sure he's no longer anxious to take the lead after that spanking he received earlier. He's probably going to let... Ooh. The Nelson, I think it was the Nelson, just smashed. Yep. Nelson absolutely smashed the enemy Dallas with a really big high explosive salvo there. The Nelson, of course, has 16-inch guns, and British battleship high explosive is very, very dangerous. Not liking the look of those torpedoes, though. Yep, the Nelson has eaten at least one. The Renown, of course, 15-inch guns, and Tier 7 battleships only have 27mm of bow and stern plating. So, yeah. Yeah, the Nelson's in poor shape. There's the West Virginia again. It's shooting back. Rear turrets only. And it mostly missed. I think he took a superstructure hit. But that was a double fire from that pesky Helena, who is proven to be a real pain in the arse. He's burned the damage control. He's back down to less than 20,000 health. The points difference isn't that bad, because you also have to remember that as well as getting points or losing points for kills, such as the Renown torpedoing and sinking the Nelson, And they're probably about to lose the Gadjimada because he's definitely spotted. And he's got both the Renown and the Leningrad shooting at him, and that's really bad. And yep, sure enough, the Gadjimada has gone down too. There are now just 2 of them left alive. Justin in the Scharnhorst 43 and the Chumfon, who's hiding in that smokescreen. The enemy Renown, however, is looking very, very vulnerable. I think he's turning to try to get the front turrets, and that's a big mistake. The Chumfon hits him with some high explosive. Justin unloads with the armor piercing and finishes him. Good. What's not good is that the dying salvo from the Renown's rear 15-inch gun turret was high explosive, and it has set a double fire. And the damage control's on cooldown. Oh, there's the Helena. Remember, yeah, nothing but overpens. That's the downside of the longer fuse of the Scharnhorst 43's 283mm guns. It does mean, though, that if a cruiser's angling away from you and you can smack the stern, you are more likely to actually... Hang on a minute. Armor piercing. Why is the Leningrad firing armor piercing at him? Okay, the Chumfon took the Helena out, so we're in a straight 2-on-2. It's the West Virginia and the Leningrad, who is inside that smokescreen, against Justin here in the Scharnhorst 43, who's on now less than 5,000 health. And there goes his very last charge of his damage repair party. And here comes the West Virginia, and it couldn't have... Oh, he's basically given a flat broadside. It unloads with armor piercing. Justin sees his life flashing before his eyes, but the West Virginia manages to miss with almost every shot from point-blank range. Honestly, there are so many things going on in this battle that just do not make any kind of sense whatsoever. Justin, thankful for the second chance, guns the engines. The Scharnhorst is pretty quick. Again, no idea whatsoever why the Leningrad is continuing to fire armor piercing at him. He's just had a double fire. His damage control is on cooldown. Another fire at this point, and the Leningrad does have high explosive, would probably kill him. Justin has finally remembered that he has torpedoes. And of course, so does the Chumfon. Deep water torpedoes. Oh no, the Chumfon got spotted. But his torpedoes are looking good. Actually, so are Justin's, but I think it's the Chumfons that are going to get there first. Actually, I think what's happened here is the West Virginia spotted Justin's torpedoes and then slowed down to avoid them, allowing the Chumfon's much, much more stealthy deep water torpedoes to catch him. So there's a flesh wound award for the Chumfon. It is now a 1 versus 1, but it's battleship versus destroyer, and that rarely ends well for the battleship. And yet, the Leningrad, what is the Leningrad doing? Why are you firing armor piercing against an angled battleship? Don't forget, the Leningrad does have 8-kilometer range torpedoes. Generally speaking, up until tier 8-ish, Russian destroyers' torpedoes are absolutely terrible. As far as the range is concerned, like the Minsk at tier 7 only has 4-kilometer range on its torpedoes. The Leningrad is different. It's tier 7 premium. It's extremely fast with a top speed of 43 knots. And it has 8-kilometer torpedoes. Now, it is Russian, so its stealth is pretty bad, but it's good enough. If you have at least a 10-point captain, I think you can get the stealth down to 7 kilometers or less, which is not good, but when you have 8-kilometer torpedoes, it's good enough. Now, one of Justin's high explosive salvos did disable the Leningrad's torpedo tubes. So you can understand why the Leningrad isn't closing in to torpedo him now. He's going to be waiting to get the torpedo tubes repaired. And he's finally switched to the high explosive. Okay, so he is capable of thinking and breathing at the same time. And he is at least smart enough to stay outside of the secondary range, because the Scharnhorst secondaries are dangerous. And he is, of course, a very small and extremely fast target. So he's not going to be easy for Justin to hit, and he does at least appear to be smart enough to be staying outside of Justin's secondary range. Look, I'm trying to think of excuses for the Leningrad here, okay? Bear with me. I don't understand why he's continuing. I mean, yeah, it's arms race. There are no cap circles until halfway through the battle, and then I can't remember what they call it. It's basically this one central cap in the middle. And if you control that, you've basically won. The thing is, it gets smaller and smaller and smaller as the battle goes on. The Leningrad has now sailed to inside secondary range. He's now smoking up. On the one hand, I can kind of sympathise with the predicament that the Leningrad's in, because battleship versus destroyer usually does not end well for the battleship, because the destroyer has the stealth advantage, it has the speed advantage. Even though the Scharnhorst is very fast for a battleship, the Leningrad is faster still, and it almost always has torpedoes, and the Leningrad can stealth torpedo, but it's not able to stealth torpedo from maximum secondary range of the Scharnhorst, which is where he's smoked up. The Leningrad, however, well, he's still firing armour piercing. Justin's only got 12,000 health. Set a fire. And of course now he's lost sight of Justin, and Justin has taken that opportunity to hightail it through the channel here. We'll know instantly when the Leningrad has left its smoke screen, because Justin will get respotted. The Leningrad cannot allow him to take this cap though. And because the cap is shrinking as the battle goes on, it means the Leningrad has to get closer and closer to Justin to contest it. And yep, Justin got spotted. The Leningrad has left the concealment of the smoke. But he wouldn't have been spotted if he hadn't opened fire instantly. And again with the armour piercing. What is going on here? I mean, on the one good thing I can say is that he is at least managing to stay out of range of Justin's secondaries. And it looks like he's going for the buff. I don't know if I mentioned this, because the scores are dead even, 400 points each. Taking the buffs is another way of gaining points in an arms race battle. And that's exactly what both Justin and the Leningrad are doing. Justin just picked up a reload buff. I wonder what his reload is like now. 18.4 seconds. Ooh, that's pretty spicy. Because with 283mm guns, the Scharnhorst does have a very, very quick reload anyway, but it's even faster now. And the Leningrad is now giving his position away inside secondary range, and he's just had his torpedo tubes knocked out. Although he's not the only one. I mean, Justin's been kind of forgetful about the fact that he does have his own torpedoes during the course of this battle, but, well, they're gone now. They've been permanently disabled. So he no longer has that advantage. And the Scharnhorst does have very, very good torpedo firing angles, but that option is no longer on the table. So Justin's going for another buff. This one looks like it. Yep, an increased hit point buff. It's not really going to help him much. He still only has 12,000 hit points. Increasing your maximum doesn't help when you only have 12,000 left. He doesn't have a spotting aircraft, but he's launching his patrol fighter. That way, I mean, if he sees any anti-aircraft tracer from the Leningrad, that will let him know which side of the island the Leningrad is coming from. I think Justin was considering maybe just running and picking up those other two buffs and allow the Leningrad to take the central cap. But with 2 minutes and 45 seconds left, that is enough time for the Leningrad to take this central cap, and that could result in a loss. However, if there's one thing that we've learned so far in this battle, it's you can always rely on that Leningrad to find a way of screwing it up. He could have torpedoed him and then smoked up. Instead, he does neither. He comes out and takes on a battleship in a gunfight with 130mm armour piercing, of all things. And against all of the odds, somehow that ends up being a win. For Justin, of course. You know, obviously, not the Leningrad. Equally obviously. What the hell did we just watch? Well, whatever it was, it certainly wasn't boring. Anyway, congratulations, Justin, I guess. Despite that disastrous start, and thanks in no small part to the efforts of the Leningrad on the enemy team, that one ended up being a win. Good job. Although for the sake of your blood pressure, I recommend you don't try to have too many battles like that in the immediate future. Anyway, do let me know what you thought of that one in the comments. I can't wait to read the comments section on today's video. I am definitely looking forward to that one. And I hope you all enjoyed it, because that's it for today. As always, take care, and I'll catch you next time.